Hi, this is Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the game, Hardback. I've played this digitally, so I only have some photos, or some printed photos here of the game that I played. Hardback is, I think it's called a novel deck building game. It is essentially a word game where you're using cards to spell a word and getting points and gaining abilities from those cards that you're using and those cards that you're adding to your deck. There's a few things that I really like about this game that I think any deck builder could learn from, but I think it does it particularly well in this format. So one of those things is that I think makes this game really accessible for people who maybe aren't very good at word games like myself, is that every card is wild. And so, for example, this turn, I realized that I could spell the word liberty, but I didn't have a B or an E. And so instead, I flipped over these cards and I turned them into a B and an E, and I made them wild. In doing so, though, however, you don't gain anything else. So you spell a word, you might spell a long word and get points from that, or get something from that. But for every card that you don't flip over, every letter that you actually use as printed, you get a bonus. So, for example, for each of these, for the I, the R, and the T, I got a cent, 1 cent each to spend to gain more cards in my deck, a better card in my deck. There are also cards that you can get that give you options, or not options, but they give you bonuses if you've collected other types of cards in a certain genre. So we've seen this in games like Star Realms, where if you combine a couple different like red cards, they play off of each other and they get better because you have multiple red cards in your deck. This game does the same thing. It's like you're building a library of different books and you're either specializing or diversifying. So for example, here's some cards up here. I have 2 yellow books up here, and so because of that, I get a bonus point for playing each of them and using each of them to spell a word. And this is actually the thing, probably my number one favorite thing about the game, beyond this versatility and beyond this pairing mechanism. But I love the idea that in a deck building game, you are building something with your hand of cards. You're not just playing these cards, you are building something. You are building a word every turn that you play. So every hand of cards you get, you are using them to actually build something, and then it goes away, goes back into your deck, and then you build something again, and you benefit from it. And you get to look at this thing that you built. You get to look at this word. I think that is so satisfying, and I'm kind of amazed that it hasn't happened in a deck building game before. I can't think of any other deck building game where you are using your cards to actually build something on a turn-by-turn basis and then have it wiped away. There are plenty of deck building games where you, over the course of the game, you are building something. But on any given turn, using your cards, instead of those cards being something that you play, but that you actually build something with, is just brilliant. Love that. A couple other things. Another thing that I think the deck builders could learn from here, including myself as I work on a deck builder, is that you can draw cards at any time. So there's ways that if you have extra money left over, that money goes into a pool that you can use to draw more cards, and you can do that at any time, because it's crucially important in this game that you don't wait until it's your turn to start working on your word. Otherwise, the game will slow to a crawl. You need to be working on your current word all the time, and so you also can't wait until it gets to your turn to draw cards. This is a major pet peeve I have about deck building games in general, because most of them require you to wait until your turn to draw the cards. And I almost always house rule it. If I have a card that's saying I need to draw a card on my turn, I do it before my turn so I can actually plan ahead and be ready when it gets around to my turn. So I love that the game does this. I would love for any deck builder that has you drawing more cards, that you are allowed to do that when it's not your turn, so you can plan ahead. Use that information to plan ahead for what you're going to do on that turn. I think that is brilliant. Yeah, that's all the things I had to say about the game. But yeah, I particularly love that. Drawing at any time and actually building something with each hand of cards you receive is just brilliant. I really love that about Hardback. Yeah, I'd highly recommend it. Even if you don't like word games, letter games, I highly recommend trying it on Board Game Arena just to experience it and try to apply these things to a deck builder if you're working on one, because I think that's really clever. That's my thoughts. If you played Paperback, that's the original version, and this is Hardback, you've played that, or if you played other deck building game, maybe you have an example of another deck building game where you're actually building something with your hand of cards. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about that. I'd love to try that game. Thanks.